All right. Hey there, everybody. We are going to be diving into our first workshop of April, talking all things productivity without burnout. And I know one of the ones that you guys were really, really excited for in the poll I put out was reviews and why the hell you should do them. And how I'm going to be approaching this is also telling you, obviously, when to review yourself, some logistics behind doing reviews, but this is really all about the why. Now, I have been saying for forever in my coaching and basically ever since I've been doing this, that awareness is the first step. It's one of my favorite little phrases to use in coaching. Awareness is the first step. And because I truly believe that we make gains in our lives when we become aware of the patterns that are undermining us, the habits that are undermining us, the behaviors that are undermining us, the relationships, whatever the hell it is, we make gains when we recognize what those things are and we work to correct them. So awareness truly is the first step. And honestly, that statement right there could describe why it is so damn important for us to review ourselves. This is the why we should do them, because so many of our behaviors fly under the radar. Obviously, there are some that are very, very obvious, that we're very, very clear are undermining us. But there are some that are not. There are some that are sneaky. And there are some that are kind of keystone behaviors and habits that are enabling some of the other bad habits that we have in our lives. So awareness really is the first step. And sometimes the only way you can develop an awareness around how much something may or may not be undermining you is by consistently reviewing and reflecting on it, by consistently having some sort of pattern of self-reflection that you turn to. Because you may not notice it in your actual conscious awareness, but maybe you have some sort of a review process that you're doing and you notice, oh my God, I've talked about this in the last 4 times I've reviewed myself, or in 4 of the last 6 times I've reviewed myself. That is why reviews and self-reflection are so damn powerful. You cannot know what's going wrong until you sit down, slow down, and reflect on it. I called this at one point in a previous training, listening to your chaos, because we can learn a lot from times of struggle and from times of chaos. Now, the one caveat here is obviously when we do have a break, when we finally have a break in, the craziness that can be life, especially depending upon the season that you're in, if you're in a particularly busy season with your work, when we do finally have a break, oftentimes we want to shut everything out. We want to, for lack of a better way to say it, numb in some certain way. I know I numb with movies and TV and sometimes wine. But that's not always a good idea. Instead, when there is a time of chaos, and when we have a break in that time of chaos, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the best thing we can do is listen and learn, is to review ourselves, is to look for the triggers, the patterns, the behaviors, the things that keep coming up that are causing the very chaos and overwhelm that we're experiencing. Why a review is so important, why checking in with yourself is so important. If you don't want to call it review, you can call it self-reflection. But why it's so important is you are basically collecting data points from your life that show you what is and is not working, so that you can use it to direct you toward the kind of life you want. It is about basically putting on your scientist hat and observing the data points of your life so you can see what's working and what isn't. Now, I understand this feels like an added task, an added to do. But honest to God, when did I start doing coaching? 7 years ago, I started coaching. And probably 3 or 4 years ago, I started consistently doing some sort of a self-reflection, whether it was journaling or a weekly review or whatever. This is probably the thing that has made the biggest difference. We all know the phrase, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. When you're not doing some sort of a self-reflection or review, and I'm using both of those terms interchangeably here because I do think you get the same benefit. And for some people, a review might seem a little bit too type A. So I'm using those two things interchangeably for a reason. But when you are not doing that, you're basically living the definition of insanity. You are basically doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, expecting things to change. And they might not. unless you start to identify some of those things. So that's really the why the hell you should do them. And I want to give you a little bit of logistics for the how, the when to review yourself, all that jazz. So let's start with the when. I personally think it is impactful to review yourself at 3 different points consistently. 1, weekly. Doing some sort of a weekly review, because it gives you real-time data. It gives you real-time data of what's working and what's not working week to week in my life. So that's the first point. And really the easiest way you can do this, very, very simple, very, very cut and dry, is to say what went well, what didn't go well, and what can I improve? 3 questions. What went well? What didn't go well? And what can I improve? That's it. Simple and straightforward as that. But checking in with yourself at some point once every week to really, really help you do that. The next one is monthly. This is important because if weekly is the real-time data, monthly helps you connect the real-time data to the bigger picture. And really, it's about asking those same 3 questions, but looking at it in a bigger scale, looking at it more broadly. You can also, when you're doing your monthly review, do a couple other things. I like to not just make it logistical, I like to make it a little fun as well. So I look at the memories of the month, the successes of the month. And I also connect those 3 questions, the what went well, what didn't go well, and what can I improve, back to my larger goals, whatever those goals might be. Because I do set goals frequently in my life, quarterly, in fact, which actually segues quite nicely into the next category, the next time to review yourself. And that is quarterly. I like doing quarterly reviews because I also adjust and change my goals quarter to quarter, because I personally find I get bored with yearly goals. I get bored, I get unenthused, and I really like the quarterly reviews because not only does it allow me to move the needle quickly on some of my goals, but it allows me to pivot and make changes more frequently. So on a quarterly basis, I'm reevaluating my goals, I'm reevaluating my areas of focus, and allowing myself to pivot if I'm done with something, if I'm bored with something, whatever it is. So those are the 3 times for when to review yourself, and some information on how. Weekly, to give you your real-time data. Monthly, to help connect the real-time data to the bigger picture. And quarterly, to help you pivot and make changes a little bit more frequently. Now, the more frequently you review yourself, the better. The more information you have, the more informed you can be about the decisions that you're making, and whether or not the habits and behaviors you're engaging in are actually helping you to move the needle toward those different parts of your life. But I want to leave you with another reason why before I show you a couple more logistical things. So the more frequently you review yourself, the more to learn, really the last kind of reason, sorry, I flubbed there a little bit. The last reason why to review yourself is to learn to be more objective with yourself. That's where I was going with this point. Yeah. As soon as I started talking, I was like, wait, that's wrong. It's really about to learn to be more objective with yourself, because many of us struggle with self-reflection because it leads to judgment. It leads to self-judgment. We cannot take a look at our behaviors and our habits and our routines and be objective about it, because we're saying, oh, I should be better, I suck at this, blah, blah, blah. We have that emotional language that we tie to our habits and our routines and our behaviors. But the more you review yourself, the more you learn not to do that. I'm being so Italian right now, I'm talking with my hands, but the more you review yourself, the more you learn not to do that. Doing consistent reviews enables and empowers you to put your scientist hat on, like I talk about all the time. It teaches you how to perform an objective, non-judgmental self-evaluation. And once you're able to do that, once you're able to sit down and look at yourself and your behaviors and even your emotions to some extent, objectively, without judgment, that transcends into the rest of your life, and it helps you to be more self-compassionate. Now, I know there are people out there that say, I don't want to be self-compassionate because it's going to make me lazy. It's going to make me stagnant. It's going to make me so that I don't, take it seriously in moving the needle toward my goals. And I guarantee you it won't, because I have seen studies that say positive reinforcement always, always, always works better than negative reinforcement. Shame is never going to drive you toward the kind of life you want. as much as it might feel like you're cracking the whip, since when has anybody ever like to, have the whip cracked on them, especially when it comes to things that they are, they're trying to do for their own self-betterment. Negative reinforcement does not work. Positive reinforcement does. So that's really the final piece as to why we should all do self-reflection, is because it helps us train ourselves to be compassionate and non-judgmental. So I want to show you guys a couple different things and a couple different ways you can go about doing a self-reflection. We're going to I'm not going to try to hold up my planner because frankly, that never works very well. So what I am going to do is I'm going to pull up some pictures of my planner, because I know that there are I want to show you a digital way to do this and a hard copy way to do this. That's kind of the goal here. So let's take a look really quickly at the hard copy way to do this. Sorry, I had to pull up the pictures because I realized I didn't have them up. Wait, that's not the window I wanted to share. Hold on, do over, reshare this one. Okay. So this is the Take Back Your Life planner. I want to get into it a little bit more. Not necessarily so much of these early pages, but this right here is the quarterly planner. Now, the quarterly planner is, as I said, a place where you can reset your goals. And a way in which I do that is by doing a life wheel, which is basically you rate yourself 1 to 10 on these different parts of your life. And again, this is in the planner. So you don't necessarily need to do this in the planner. You don't need to buy a planner to do this, but you could do this on paper, something very, very similar, or in your own planner, whatever system you use. So I rate myself 1 to 10 in each of these categories. And basically I'm rating myself on how satisfied am I with that part of my life. And I use this and the reasons why I gave myself these scores to set goals in the other parts of my life. Or to set goals, in the other parts of my life, yes, but also for the next 90 days. So how this layout in the planner actually works is this is just the category. So maybe my goal is in the career and purpose category, and maybe the what is what specifically the goal is. The why is why I want the goal. The milestones is kind of those 30, 60, 90-day benchmarks that I want to hit in pursuit of the goal. So like say you're running, like this one actually says launch the program, which is actually this membership you guys are in. I have an errant hair. That's what this was. So the why is because I wanted to have a container to grow community as well as teach people about burnout. The why might be so I can have, a consistent stream of income coming in. The why could be very, very different types of things. The milestones might very well be that I am going to create a marketing plan by the end of January, or I'm going to create a content plan and what my monthly themes are going to be by the end of February, and so on and so forth. So those are just the milestones and benchmarks that you're going to hit as you pursue this goal. And then the how might include some logistical behaviors. Like I'm going to spend Thursday and Friday mornings from 9 to 10:30 working on this particular project. That might be an example of the how. So it's kind of those more logistical things for how you're going to do it. But this is an example of the quarterly planner in the paper version. We're going to do everything the paper version, then I'm going to show you a new digital version that I've been playing with lately. That's a slightly more zoomed in one. I've got lots of repeated pictures here. This right here might be more of the monthly review. So I want to see if I actually have a layout of the monthly spread in here. I know we're kind of flying through pictures right now. They're not necessarily organized in any particular way. Is this the video? Let's actually watch this so that I can. I like the music that I have playing in the background of this. Okay, this is not quite what I wanted. But what I am going to go ahead and do is I am going to share my, we're just going to share screen one, so I don't have to do nearly as much flipping around. So we're gonna go ahead and minimize that, minimize that, minimize that. I'm gonna go ahead and open. Oh crap, did I share the right screen? I don't think I did. Well, I want screen two. There we go. Okay, we should be on the right screen now. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna pull up my planner page and I'm just gonna pull up the walkthrough video that I have because that's gonna probably be the best way to see the different parts of it. Yeah, there we go. We're going to mute her because we don't really care about all of the early stuff. Okay. Thank you so much for your patience with all of this. So this is the quarterly review here. Now we're going to go ahead and go into the monthly view. So in the monthly view, go away, suggested videos. We've got a calendar to help you lay out your future month. We've got you a place where you can set your goals for your month, as well as, I want to get to the place where it actually has the monthly review. Oh, it's right here. We'll wait for YouTube to catch up with me. This has a little soundtrack that goes along with it. But in here, we've got our actually monthly review spread. So this is where you can check in on your goals, what went wrong, what didn't go wrong, or what went well, what didn't go well, what can I improve? That's actually over here on the page. We'll see that in just a second, but it's a place to check in on your goals, memories, successes, check on your monthly goals, as well as when we get to the next page, yeah, monthly goals check in. When we get to the next page, it's what worked, what didn't work, or what worked, what didn't work, what can I improve, and then a little spot for notes. So this is how I do it all in the actual paper planner. And then let's take one look at the weekly review, which is very, very simple. The weekly review is really just a page within the planner. It's all blurry. Let's see. Yeah, just a page within the planner where it details what questions to answer, what worked, what didn't work, and what can I improve upon next week. It's just a page where you can write and you can reflect. So you can see here, I'm gonna go ahead and stop my share. There's really nothing super fancy about it, except for the fact that it's all laid out for you within the planner. Now, I've also been playing with the digital version of this same exact setup because I want to potentially be able to take this with me when I'm traveling. Paul and I have started traveling a lot more. So I wanted to have a system that I could use when I'm traveling so that I don't necessarily have to carry a notebook with me. So I want to show you the system that I've kind of been playing with digitally. I've been playing with it inside of Notion. So let me show you this really quickly. Go to my planner. So I have been playing with creating a planner inside of Notion where I can have my tasks and to-dos, my habit tracker, but now let's really get into the meat and potatoes of this thing, which is the actual reviews. So under my Notion spread, I have a review for April, and you can actually see that I did it. I've been playing with this for this month of April to see how I like it. I have the same setup. I have the what worked, what didn't work, what can I improve, which I'm actually going to add next week here. And I just answer those exact same questions. So the weekly review is very, very similar. It's just now digitized inside of Notion. So I would be able to do that each week for the rest of the month. Just because I'm OCD, I'm adding this down here as well. So it's all just digitized, but otherwise it's essentially the same. And now the monthly review, again, is very, very, very similar. I've got my goals for the quarter so that I can go ahead and check in with those goals. I've got a place where I can write down my memories and successes of the month. I've got a place where I can check in on how my monthly goals went. I've got a what worked, what didn't work, and what can I improve. So the layout is, and the questions and the content is all very, very similar. It's just now digitized. Just to kind of give you all some examples for how you can go about implementing some of this in whatever way might be suitable for you. Could be a paper way, could be a digital way. Now let's go ahead and look at the quarterly reviews. I can also show you the yearly review. I didn't show you that in the planner, but the quarterly reviews, again, very, very, very similar. I've got my life wheel. I actually have my description. I haven't filled in all of this information because some of it's a little different from when I sat down and did my review before, but I've got my life wheel. I've got my scores. I've got what worked, what did not work, my top 3 successes, my top 3 memories. This is actually a little bit more in detail just because I can do that in a digital form. So I don't have my top 3 memories and successes in the planner just because of a space issue. But I kind of wanted to play with doing things a little bit more in depth. So I added in some extra things. I've got top lessons learned, top 3 gratitudes. And then I also have details on what my actual goals are for this quarter. So we're looking at Q2 from April to June 2021, and these are my goals for this particular quarter. So that's a look at the quarterly review inside of my digital layout. And then lastly, this is the yearly review, which obviously I've not done yet because it's not the end of 2021. But the questions that I'd be asking in the yearly review are, what worked this year? What have I accomplished this year? What were the mishaps and what is still a work in progress? What are the biggest gaps between where I am? I guess we can leave it where you are now in your dreams. What have I learned this year? Oh, no, I do want to change it where I am now and my dreams. I'm such a tutor. I want to keep my things consistent. What are my favorite memories from this year? What are my biggest successes, and so on and so forth. So this would be the yearly review, again, as a digital version. So that is all things reviews. That's why you need to do them, how to do them, some examples for how to set them up, a deeper dive into some of the systems that I've used in the past, that I'm still using, that I'm kind of venturing into to see how I like them. But I hope you got a lot out of this. If you have any questions about any of the systems I use, or you want any of, for example, those Notion templates, please let me know. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in our next workshop. Bye.